All right.
Well, it's calling in order. Do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
I didn't get a copy of the minutes to link to this.
Well, the last minutes were April's minutes.
Okay.
Right? We didn't have a beginning May. All right, we had the joint meeting was the first meeting in May.
So, oh yeah, that's correct.
So this is the meeting.
There, that's more
This is
accurate.
the May meeting from the 17th, because I couldn't do it the 17th because I screwed up on the timing. I was out on the 17th.
All right. Mind if I jump into the business administrator?
No, go right ahead.
Okay, so the first thing is inflation. Right now in the state of New Hampshire is saying inflation is 3.8%. What we've been seeing when we're renewing prices is pricing is remaining. We have one that is identical to last year, and they go all the way up to an additional 38%. Okay. What's coming up soon is heating oil. Okay, the district buys between 80 and 85,000 gallons of heating oil. Normally in the past, I work with the finance committee chair. I go up and get multiple quotes, talk with the committee chair. I tell them the prices that I got and which one I recommend and get their approval. And then we report out the results afterwards. The problem is these companies can only hold their prices for that day. Okay, and I'm buying so much. All right, I want to make sure that everybody on this committee is okay with that. All right.
Yeah, that's what we've done the last few years. And not that we have a magic ball or anything. Does this make sense to you and from where we are?
Yeah. And just so you know, even during COVID, I called Jamie once and I said, today the price is $1.55. And we agreed to buy 40,000 gallons. Okay, so we do opportunity buying when we can. Okay.
Yeah. And Matt, what do you price? You typically, I think we talked when we were over there at AK, you priced like three. You did three quick phone calls and then pulled the trigger. Is that what you did?
It's more than 3 phone calls. It's really any provider within the area that can show up with a tractor trailer.
Yep.
Any company that has those little shorty trucks that goes to people's homes, they can't feed us. Because they don't have as many trucks.
Sure.
Each of our tanks are 10,000 gallon tanks.
Right. Yeah, the throughput's just not there.
Yeah.
Yep. I get you.
And the pricing we get is legitimately, it comes off the ship and comes to our school.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. I also put in a link in here for the economic conditions that the state of New Hampshire has out. I recommend that you read it because what they're saying is they're seeing decreases in prices, but not decreases that we've had in the past. Okay. Right now, I think the price of oil is almost 3.3 cents per gallon. I'm sorry, $3.30 per gallon, and I can probably get it for about $2.90, $2.80. Okay.
Also, kind of bulk discounts.
Yeah, bulk discounts.
My belief is what's going to end up happening here is just so people know what timelines are. There's more and more economists, banks, et cetera, that are indicating there's going to be a recession. Arguably, we had the 2 quarters with no growth last year.
Yeah.
Should that happen, demand will come down.
Mm-hmm.
Supply will still be high. The numbers should be coming down. Countering that is the Biden administration is trying to turn some screws and make oil and energy far more expensive. But I think that's going to get blocked by an injunction, personally. I think there's 25, 26 states already lined up to say this is a violation of the recent Supreme Court EPA ruling. Yeah. So I think that the most likely scenario is heating oil will start going down. Heating oil usually isn't a summer-driven item, but by the time we get to fall, these thought processes, it'll either have happened that way or not. We'll know more about it. I mean, right now things are switching over to gasoline in the summer, and that's where you're going to see your spikes. But I think come fall we're going to be in a better position on oil than we are now.
Normally, the prices for me have been the lowest, like the last week of July, first couple weeks of August. This past year, I think we delayed until almost September.
Yeah.
It was late.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm anticipating almost the same thing. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable about gambling, doing like half a buy and then buying again in December. But
Yeah,
it's worth the discussion.
it's worth the discussion, yeah.
Okay.
And you know
So,
what we also could tap into is, the trustees have financial advisors, part of what they're doing. Giving projections of economic activity, so it's a free source of information. So we can also check as to what the advisor is saying.
okay. The next thing is, I gave a list of all the open purchase orders, which I linked it right here. Like I have in the past couple months. Let's see. So because the meeting is at the end of the month, I'm able to provide you with March and April. Normally, we get our bank statements around the 10th of the month, and then we try to have them reconciled by the 20th of the month, okay? So, all these numbers here include March and April, all right? So as of April, we have just over $6 million in cash, which is sufficient for almost 2 months of operating. And right now, the towns of Kingston, Newton, and Fremont School District are current, so they paid all their bills.
Okay, and 6 million in and of itself will take you through the cash position at the end of the fiscal year.
Yes, exactly. Through April, total revenues were $34,063,921. And I'm estimating the surplus revenues at year end to be just over 200,000, which represents about 0.5% of what we projected back in November. Significant reasons for the surplus are interest earnings above our estimate of 100,000, because what happened was the Feds increased their rate. Catastrophic aid was above budget by 19,000, and possibly Fremont tuition is going to be over our estimate by just over $6,000. This is going to all happen when we issue our final bill for Fremont. The reason why my estimate for Fremont changed is because we had some direct special education costs that we billed to Fremont, which pushed our revenues up over. Okay.
But before we move on, you're saying estimating surplus revenues at the end of the year at 200,000. Is that both health and non-health?
No, those are the expenditures. Talking about my revenue budget.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, this is cash in to pay for all of my appropriations.
Okay.
Okay. So, significant transactions for March and April. Our investment income in March, it was 17,000. In April, it was 15,000. Building aid came in March for $234,607.
Is that the last of them?
No, we have a couple more years.
No, but the last for this fiscal year.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so for the two of you, state building aid, when we build this building, they committed to paying a certain amount of money over the life of our bond.
They meaning the state.
The state, that's right, okay?
They meaning you, your other pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We also got Medicaid revenue from Troy's Good Efforts for March was 17,000, and April was $7,273.
Do we have an annual for that so far? We were down to like $3,000, $4,000 for the whole year.
Yes.
2 years ago, and we must be over 50 or 60 now.
No, we're within 60,000. I mean, we're within $6,000 of reaching 50,000.
All right, so yeah,
We're almost there.
Yeah.
But he's trying to redo his billing
Right.
so he can get a lot more.
We just
I like a lot more.
Medicaid laws are changing currently. The laws actually, we currently just started contracting with a company who can sign off order referral forms for occupational therapists so that we can bill for their time. The law is now changing, I just found out last week, to make it so they don't even have to go through that agency. They'll be able to sign as medical professionals for Medicaid billing directly. And that's supposed to pass soon. The laws in Medicaid are also being opened up so that we can get more reimbursements. So that just came out. So it should keep going up for a while. To what degree, I don't, it all depends on
Yeah.
who qualifies and that type of stuff. So it's really, hard to estimate it, but I'm hoping we can, double.
Yeah, I mean, you went from like 2,000 to 50,000, so we don't really need to make it 25 times the amount. Doubling it, tripling would be okay.
Yeah, but when setting our estimated revenues next year, I would caution about increasing. the
I would
expense.
too. It is still a very dicey game, to say the least.
Yes,
And so I would not want to overly estimate revenues on it, but I would want to pull out every stop to pull in what we can.
yes. So also in April, we charged Fremont tuition $888,000, which includes the regular tuition for $850 and direct special education costs of $37,919. Now we have our cash on the operating side. We have two different pools. We have like our operating cash where our cash goes in and our checks go out. Okay. But if the treasurer of the district finds that he can put money aside and try to gain more money, it goes into a state pool.
Yep.
Okay. And that state pool is called the PDIP. And right now is turning an annualized investment rate of 4.86% for April and 4.73 for March. Moving on to expenditures. Non-health insurance expenditures through April were $24,270 and $613. Sorry,
24 million.
$24,270,613. Encumbrances were $7,183,931. So the remaining appropriation is $565,072 or 1.86%. And the increase from the last report of $114,000. Notable changes come from $48,000 for the arsenic filters at Bakia Memorial, $117,000 for out-of-district education services, $59,000, and I only included expenditures over $10,000. He had many more of that. Okay. Substitutes that were out, $59,743.
And that's district-wide, Matt.
Yes.
Okay.
$19,281 for, we hired a library media specialist, so that would be their salary through the end of the year. And then we also encumbered a special education paraprofessional, and that would be their salary from the date of hire to the end of the year.
Let me say this another way, if I'm understanding correctly. If I had all that really quickly in my head, it's about 250 grand. But we're up 114. So your closed POs closed out and brought back to the books about $365,000.
There's some of that, but there's also we transferred some special education money with the school board. He hasn't completed his purchasing for this particular report. Okay.
All that curriculum items and trainings that you authorized.
Right, but if that's not in this report yet, that's in that number.
This is April. It's going to all show up in May.
Right, so I'm gonna see a decrease coming in May is what you're telling me. But in
Yes.
order to get the increase here, all these are posted expenses.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I had to have 300-something thousand come back in from
Yeah,
the POs, and what I'm saying is more of it is,
Yeah.
what you're saying is, yeah, but I know you, don't take that to the bank yet, because you've already authorized this spending.
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Okay. And you also know that I have my year-end estimate where I keep a list of all this stuff, what's in and what's out.
Yeah, no, we need to spend some time on that tonight too, to make sure that everybody's
Yep.
on board with where we are.
Yep. Okay.
But that's still pretty good, rolling back, $350,000 in closing out POs. Thank you.
Health insurance expenditures through April was $3,580,833 with encumbrances of $1,112,803. The remaining is $490,994 or 9.48 and 9.47%. It's a reduction of the last reporting period of 189,217. So you can see we're shifting from one bucket to another bucket.
Well, and some, yeah, those are good budget adjustments, okay.
Yeah, 154,000 of budget adjustments, more specifically 100,000 for special education curriculum, which was approved in March.
So when we get into the final projections, you're starting with $1 million number and then saying, these are already commitments that are out there that we know of. as you're working back down. to the
Yeah,
final estimate.
my final projection is a little more fine tuned because I'm also
Sure, you're
using
getting closer.
the most recent report. So I did it as of, the 22nd, a couple days ago.
Okay, good.
Okay. So, revolving fund and capital reserve expenditures, I linked the report here. The total reserves, including contingency fund, is 1,674,000. So I want to open this thing up and I want to immediately go to the bottom because at the last school board meeting, we voted,
I just want to see, where's the revolving fund? Because that's where we just voted to spend money out of.
but the expenditures hasn't, this is through April.
Okay, those expenditures haven't hit yet. Okay.
That's right. Okay. But I wanted to point out the contingency fund down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Is 537,000. It's not the updated amount that was voted at the last school board meeting. You weren't present.
Correct, because, well, that doesn't change what this number is. It's just the number that's gonna, when this gets added back, when you're doing your final assessment, you got a bigger number being added in.
This is as of April.
Yeah.
When we switch it over to May, I'm gonna update it. Because the vote occurred at the beginning of May.
But the vote can't change that contingency.
What it did was this, I'm gonna bring it up to like 612. It's gonna be like the 537 was released.
Right, that's what I'm saying. When you're doing your estimates, you're gonna be, that number's voted on, that will happen,
Yes,
but this will come back. So it's gonna be the net of the two, which is gonna be an increase in cost for contingency.
Yes.
Showing in the breakdown.
you'll see it in my year-end adjustment.
Okay. I'm with you.
All right, so let's go over this really quickly. Special education expendable trust is $246,706. Capital improvement and maintenance capital reserve fund is $330,463. Anticipated educational expenses is $255,957. Unanticipated utility costs for $76,759. Facility use revolving fund, $226,316, does not include the purchases of the new servers or the laptops. Okay. I could close this out. And so I wanted to point out that the trustees knocked it out of the park with the investments this month. I calculated an annualized investment rate at 5.36% versus the state pool at, I think the state pool I have up above.
He says 4.8.
4.86. Okay. And then I listed out all the budget adjustments. So you can, if you want to go look at them.
Can you dump that also into the budget committee's file? They
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were asking for that.
Okay.
At least last year they were.
Trustees?
The budget committee.
Oh, the bike comp, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. At the facilities committee, I spoke about purchasing a new snowblower. It's called the Ventrac. We're not ready to purchase it, but I just wanted to let you know our intent is to lease purchase it. Okay, which would mean a school board vote, and then I'd get financing from a bank and pay for this piece of equipment. Also on the near horizon is the EPA is changing some of its PFOA limits. We spoke about that in the facilities committee.
Sorry, Matt. I want to jump back to the Ventrac real quick. I just want to make sure that in that analysis, and I'm sure you're thinking of it, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Oftentimes we say, okay, we've got 4 pieces of machinery to do this. We're going to get this one and it's going to be awesome. We didn't take into account that we needed 2 people snow blowing at the same time. That way we can clear twice as fast, or we need a mower over here and an item over here, right? So sometimes, bringing something together into one piece doesn't always work. So just keep that in your analysis. Okay.
Can I show you?
You can. I'm not trying to belabor it. I just wanted to say that one piece so that we don't, have an oversight.
The top part of my analysis right here is the tractor. And then below are the add-ons or the attachments.
Sure.
And then over here to the right would be what it would replace. Okay. So I'm trying to make it so that I'm not in a bind for equipment.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. But I'm also trying to look at it, replacing equipment when that equipment fails. So for example, the John Deere tractor, it's got 3,000 hours on it. That's not enough hours for me to come to you with a straight face and say we need to get rid of it, okay? The Kubota tractor, the Kubota snow blower has 12,000, almost 13,000 hours. It used to be a lawnmower too, but that lawnmower attachment failed. So now I have this giant piece of equipment that can only be used for one season.
I got you.
So,
You're thinking about it. That's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
okay. The water system, again, PFOAs, EPA is coming out with new rules. So in the future, look for discussions about getting a grant to fund this. And then possibly where the source of funds to pay for it are going to be, I think it's going to end up being like a $30,000 filter. That's my gut. Okay?
Everywhere or just here?
Just here.
Because of the location of the PFO.
We're only getting PFOAs in this building in our water test.
Did we talk already about the new state regulations around arsenic?
I just wanted to show you where the source was. It's
Yeah, yeah.
coming from the EPA.
Yeah, I know, but
Yes.
for
Yes.
arsenic, not PFOAs.
Oh, the arsenic
The
levels?
levels, the New Hampshire accepted levels, I believe, for arsenic are lower than the EPA's.
Yes, they are.
Right,
That's
so
correct.
have we accounted for that, the new arsenic filters and all that stuff that we were doing?
I know we're within compliance and we're
There you go.
testing our water with the state
There you go.
every single month.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that they came down recently, I just didn't
Yeah.
remember if we talked about it.
So that's my report.
Thank you.
I have some budget adjustments and, what I've got, special education came in two bunches. One was an older, group because we weren't able to meet over a period of time. So I've got three here. The first one is, to increase the supply line for the purchase of, more curriculum for $21,041.43. And it's coming from various, areas within the, special education budget. Now, for the new members, there's a school board policy. This committee can transfer money between different line items within special education. You can transfer money between line items within regular day. You can't take money out of special education and put it into regular education without school board approval, full school board approval. Okay,
Yep.
so these are all special education accounts, so it's within your authority. The next one is $29,162. This one is for professional services for unanticipated evaluations and related services. Okay,
Let's go back up to the first one. Troy, I got a question.
sure.
This isn't the first one where we see details transferred into larger line items. As a means of efficiency, are you trying to reduce the details and keep it into larger buckets so that you
Yeah.
can just buy as needed without having to go through the rigmarole? It seems that's the
Yeah,
direction
so
you're at.
Tim Murphy, who's my assistant, left hand, right hand. We're in the process of reevaluating all the budget lines, because we have funds. And the direction is to have budgets by building.
Yeah.
So we're actually gonna restructure our special ed budget in the same way the buildings do. We're gonna have a budget for each building for special ed, but start combining the pieces that they were there. So it'll be a supply line instead of 6 supply lines. But if it says other professional services, it'll actually have a detail of what I'm basing that on. I'm expecting 8 evaluations at approximately this cost. It'll be that detailed and it'll be set up based against referrals and whatnot that we've had over the last couple of years. So we're trying to move things around to where they fit and justify the justification of why each line item. So the way you look at the special ed budget will be very similar to the exact same way you look at any other building's budget, except there'll be I'll have a budget for each building and they'll have a budget for the SAU.
My only counsel would be, and that makes all sense to me. And I have no problem consolidating down the supply line. Just be cognizant of, you don't want to bury relevant data sets in that accumulation. So you might want to be able to keep some of these lines that you feel, sometimes you have a real big one there. I'm not anticipating it. Don't close those lines out so that we can capture that. in the future, so leave a bucket in it or something, so you can still use that line item in the future. But generally speaking, I don't have a problem with the consolidation that I'm seeing you do. It seems to me it's just an efficiency process.
Yeah, and we're gonna try to like big contracts, will have their own line. So if you have $150,000 contract, that contract will have its own line. So it won't just be a one big line that's like $1 million.
Right.
That way we could judge the contracts, and I've sat down and been renegotiating contracts with every special ed service. I've been running all my things through Matt, because he understands the rules and what I need to do there. But we're just trying to see if we can, you know, prices are going up, so my people are going
Lighten
up
it up.
30%.
Yeah.
And they're giving us that budget against the budget we already built, so this is the money we've already raised it appropriated, so we just gotta tweak it down a little bit, so hopefully we can.
Yeah. From where I'm sitting, the level of transparency is going up.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
where we wanted to go.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm okay with these two. Can I have a motion, to approve if you guys
There's a
agree?
third one.
I know, I want to do this one separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the two special education ones, can I get a motion to
Yep.
approve?
Motion to approve the two special education, budget line items.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye, so that's unanimous. Now you go to the next one.
Thank you.
This one here is to cover the cost of curriculum and training is for $13,342. My authority is $10,000, so I need to go to this committee if it's greater than that.
What is this?
Yeah, which one are you on?
It's the third one within the first one.
It's still special ed.
Oh, it's the third.
Oh, I thought the next one was not special ed, but there's only two for special ed.
Yeah, we're not seeing what you're
No,
seeing now.
No,
This,
it's this one down here, so you get this one with the volume here.
Okay,
Second
so
page.
that was within the number 2 or 1?
Third
the
page.
first one. I mean, you want me to show it on the screen?
No, that's right.
So the first link is 3
Yes,
that you're putting together. Then you got
Okay.
a second special ed link.
yes, the
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought there was 3 total, and you
Yeah.
just showed us the first 2, and the
Yeah.
last one was twigs.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand.
Can we unmake that motion and redo it
I
directly?
we'll just do this separately.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I have no issue with this.
Would you like me to explain what it is?
This is the curriculum stuff that we're
Right.
talking about, right?
So the board authorized me to purchase curriculum for special education. It gave me a certain amount of money with the understanding that I would seek out all available line item money that I could move in accordance as well. And they gave me $100,000 to start with. And I thought that that would be enough, and it was, because we were able to move it from other lines where we're not using them up. We were able to look out for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks and be like, okay, we aren't gonna need these based on where we are. So we're just emptying out all the lines, using up the money that we have within the budgeted items that we have for next year.
Okay. I have one question. I don't know if this is I'm gonna ask it right here because I'm looking at this item that says books. So there's the question of books that we've been talking with Mr. Ambrose about.
Yeah.
And my question is, it took you looking at that to say these are special ed books.
Yeah.
How does that not appear in a place like this? Were those purchased with a different, how does that not fall here? Does that make sense?
Because this money, so that money was already, those items were purchased.
Yep.
So this is moving things into a supply line where we're purchasing from. So to consolidate and bill, we're buying massive amounts of things from like one agency, and it could be $40,000 or $50,000. What happens is we move money into that one line to purchase those things. That book line was a particular book line. I'm looking at the Ivy code.
it's a 2000 series account. So,
Okay.
so to Jeremiah,
Yep.
if you look at the second grouping of numbers, the first group is fund, so
Yep.
it's the general fund. The second 4-digit group.
Yep.
If it starts with a 1, it's really the closest to the students. So that's the teachers, they're working one-on-one with it, or they're working directly with the students.
Okay.
The 2000 series is more like a second level. This is like the library. Psychological evaluations. Okay, they're not working on direct education or instruction. Okay, and then when you get up to 300 is food service, or 2400. I'm sorry, 2600 is is facilities. So the farther you move away from the 1000 series, the farther you move away from the students.
Yeah, so let me go back to the specific question you have about books. Yep. This is money that hasn't been spent yet. There's still an open line item in cash available. It's been appropriated and not spent. What you're saying is, I don't need to spend a line on books. I think what you're getting at is from an oversight perspective, how do I know it's being spent on books? And how do I know what books are being purchased with that?
Yep.
In order to get that, what I have been doing is every time a book comes up on the manifest, I say to Matt, I want to know what this book is.
Yep.
I haven't found a way that is efficient, given all the pro cards that we have out there, so that might be something to consider in the future, to be able to say, I want to know what they are before the purchase.
Right.
But if you wanted to track the books, you'd say, all the books pretty much are on the book lines, and then we could say as a committee, all the books must be in the book line. And then you ask monthly for, I want to break out of the books purchased on the book line. Got it. So that's how you could use the chart of accounts to see what your data sets are.
Yep.
Unrelated to the books, recently something happened and I'm no longer going to allow blanket purchase orders. They're going to have to put in purchase orders and detail out everything.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
I feel
Matt.
like it's a good practice.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a lot more work.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
but it's-
And for me, I want to have purchase orders in the beginning of the year that go throughout the whole year.
Sure.
I don't want a purchase order today for something that you knew that you were going to buy 10 months ago.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
I recognize that it's more work, but I'm saying thank you because we need to get to that level of transparency given the environment that we're in.
yeah, right.
So I will also say that every item that we have purchased is being inventoried.
Mhm.
And so when it's sent, so it's inventoried, so we know which company, what book, what, how many copies, all of those things. So if you ever want to see the inventory sheets that we have, it is post, not free, but it is post. I can tell you, which buildings they got assigned to.
Yeah.
So all the curriculum we get when it's released and the books that we were, have not been released.
Gotcha.
You're
Yeah.
sitting in my office, I know Tom and I met, and he sent you back something.
Sure.
We are buying programming for the kids we might have. When you set up a system, you're saying, you have to buy it for the kids you could have. There's different things we focus on. We didn't have a lot of things, so we were having to purchase things on the fly as they came up. So I did away with that, and I sat down with the staff, and we went through, and they said, okay, let's talk about adaptive curriculum. That's where that came in. What are all the areas that we could be challenged in and we might have to teach something if asked? And the cognitive team got together, it's like 12 people, and they mapped it out pre-K to 12, developmentally. Here's the things that we would need at these levels, this would be, and then we mapped it all out. And then I'm hyperlinking overviews to those things in that document. So you hover over it, it goes to the link on the document itself. I'm happy to share any of that stuff with you guys. If you're curious about any of those things.
I'll tell you flat out, if he's got it, so he's got an inventory of all the books that are coming through special education, you don't have that in regular education. They're coming in from all kinds of angles and there is no accumulation point to the definition that Dr. Kemp.
We're
Yep.
pulling all our materials back at the end of every year for inventory purposes. So if a person bought a box with a bunch of things in it, the box has an inventory sheet. We copy the inventory sheet, we open the box, we put it to the inside. At the end of the year during a sign out, whoever it was assigned to has to inventory the sheet, go to the coordinator, say, this is what I'm missing, here's my supplier because they were used up, workbooks doesn't matter, this was damaged, I need this. All that stuff goes into one area in the spring. And then when the items get brought in, they actually get put back into the car. It'll say, we're buying this for box one, visualize and verbalize. I know where box one is. It's gonna go there. So those things will come in and then they'll be redistributed and signed back out by the staff. We're gonna be using them for the year.
Gotcha.
It's just, I was given a lot of money to do something. I cannot have things walking.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for that level of fidelity.
Yeah, I did stop. Probably will never get this opportunity again at the price everything is nowadays. So
Right.
I'd like to keep this just like,
Fantastic.
All right.
So on the 13,000, can I get a motion on this particular, budget?
Motion.
you will see a lot less of these from me.
Yeah. Mike, can you second that?
Yes, I second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, unanimous.
One more special education one. This one came in yesterday. Okay, this one here is to cover transportation of a newly placed student out of district. for a period of April through June, and it's $11,748. And it's above my authority to move. And he's taking it from the middle school, out-of-state tuition and non-public special ed tuition, and moving it to out-of-state tuition for the high school.
This is not unusual, so as the year progresses, needs change. They're budgeted with one set of assumptions, it happens differently, and we move the line items. Student needs.
Sure. How much?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
And as we consolidate lines, we will be putting notes in for when we expend from it. So that we can go back, because I need it for budgeting for the next year.
Yeah.
Was this a one-off? Was it a this?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Was it a that? So we'll be tracking all the note systems for that. So if there's anything anybody wants to see, you'll have a student number and it won't have their name, obviously, but yeah, it does correlate to an actual student. We'll be using SACIDs and things like that, which are could be verified if someone needed to have them verified.
On this one, I did talk to members of the ISA committee, and I talked to Christine. They have not reviewed this yet.
That's correct.
They expect to review this. I think it's on the agenda for the 21st.
Yes.
So I think this is premature for us to make the line item move until ISA's approved it.
And this is for Twig Science. From what I've heard, their pilot, the scores increased. So let's let ISA deal with it and table this.
Yep.
Okay, sure.
So can we, unless there's objections, I'd like to move right to the year-end update to make sure that we get that in and then end on the manifest questions.
Sure, it's fine.
No objection.
And just so that I think, I know that you're both aware, but I'll say it publicly anyway. The year-end estimate is, what are we currently expecting as we sit here at May 22nd, which was when the data was pulled, that we will end the year with what balance of unexpended funds? Said balance, unless otherwise determined by the school board, will be used to offset taxes.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And also to fund the warrant articles, but he'll have that in his adjustment, to fund the warrant articles that were approved. And we already approved the contingency for next year, so you'll see that coming out also. Yeah,
That's a 2.5%.
All right, so I did this as of the 22nd. And what I found is uncollected per that report is just over $2 million. Just know that we're using fund balance as a revenue source, which essentially is budgeting a net income loss. Okay. We have estimated Fremont tuition for 1 quarter for $850,000. We need another almost $7,000 in Medicaid to meet the budget. And I need to collect another $4,700 from Kingston for impact fees, which they're going to provide very soon. So that means my surplus revenues or my revenues above the budget is just over 200,000.
That's what he was showing in the other report that I was asking about.
Yeah. My combined expenditures, that'd be health insurance and non-health insurance expenditures, I have a surplus of $929,000 total across all appropriations.
Which is a little lower than adding the two together, and we just did it because this is dated May 22nd, and when we just like that was dated April 30th.
So at the March district meeting, the taxpayers voted 2 warrant articles that I've got to pull from all these surpluses. $75,000 for unanticipated utility costs, $50,000 for the capital improvement and maintenance capital reserve fund. I also am returning back $537,000 of the contingency fund. So that what at this line item right here is, this is the whole pool of surpluses at the end of the fiscal year, if there's no other decisions made.
That 537 was from the last.
Correct.
Yes.
And in the last school board meeting, you encumbered 612 or something.
Right.
So now that's gonna be, there it is. That's gonna come out of those.
Okay. So I didn't move the line because normally I say, okay, that's a future vote. But on this spreadsheet, I didn't want to change my spreadsheet. Okay.
Understandable.
So the way that it's calculated, these are the amounts that each of the towns taxes on your real estate So they're getting, Kingston is 13 million, Newton is 10 million. And I'm taking the more conservative interpretation of net assessments. It's even more conservative than the state of New Hampshire. The state of New Hampshire includes the state portion of your real estate tax bill. I'm using only the local portion. So this number could be higher, okay? So 2.5% of this 24 million is 612,000. Now, there is a potential of $75,000 of out-of-district placements. It's a potential, okay?
As kids that we've discussed that teams have deemed that we can't adequately educate them here. They could get placed, one kid could be placed in 2 weeks. So then we're gonna have a bill. Other kids, if it takes 6 weeks, then we don't have a bill under this year. This is where it gets
A little murky.
a little
Yeah.
murky. So we talk weekly.
Yes,
So
right.
I give them updates and we've been chiseling that number down based on, I know where they are in the process, estimated time they're gonna go in, and the estimated cost of that placement we're looking at costs. And that's what we use to run that.
I think when they started tracking this in the February timeframe, it was over 350,000.
Yeah, it had to be higher.
It was way higher. It was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm glad-
the unknowns are much larger. Yeah.
So at this point, the 75,000, I'm almost thinking it's unlikely that we're gonna see it. I'm leaving it there just because I'm hedging my bets, okay? Through my discussions with Troy, he's even said $50,000, so I captured that number and stuck it in here, okay? So there's potentially I gotta hide this, $125,000 that could happen or might not happen, okay? I have a compressor at Bakey that's 35 years old. I'm really waiting for it to fail. That one may or may not happen, okay?
We'll lock it down that fight.
On the day that I ran this, there was $8,900 worth of purchase requests that I had not yet approved. I threw it in there assuming that I was going to approve it. Okay. The high school furnace, actually the number's coming in closer to like $19,000. Because I'm gonna cut it up between the two different vendors that we use. Because one is more expensive in one item and less expensive in another. So if we can mix and match and get a lower cost.
This is the one with the leak.
This is the one with the leak.
Yep.
Okay.
Is this the holding tanks?
No,
Expansion tanks?
no, not the, no, it does not include the expansion tanks, but that should be in there. Okay. Anyways.
Yep.
That one is likely to happen. It's not going to be $30,000. It's going to be closer to 20, but I'm keeping it at 30. Okay.
But to Michael's point, do you still have an issue with the expansion?
We do.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's closer to
we have
30.
two of them that are dead.
Hey, we're back to 30.
Maybe we're back to 30.
Okay, those little expansion tanks are $8,000 a piece.
36.
I'm having sticker price.
Yeah, I know.
I mean sticker shock.
I know.
Okay, so it's kind of like, anyways. Memorial roof repair.
Oh, geez.
I should probably just take this off. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. And that was
Okay.
not the number that we talked about in the last meeting.
Because I'm like, I'm not excited about 300,000.
Right.
I'm more in line with 100,000.
Sure.
Okay,
300,000.
huh?
That's the whole thing.
Well, if
We're not
somebody come in and say, well, I know you got a flat tire, but let me build you a new car.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah,
We have some more homework to do.
Yeah.
exactly.
Buddy up there.
So,
I knew that maintenance guy.
so
Somebody with-
I have been saying for the last several months, I'm guesstimating between 500,000 and 600,000. Okay, as you can see, the year, some of the I'm still gonna say between 500,000 and 600,000. There's potential that it could go higher. All right,
You probably still have some more closeouts to do. Remember, we talked about earlier, we closed out 350,000. We still have some extra spending that's going to be coming in May. It's already incorporating. So those numbers are down from what we counted out before.
Right.
But Matt will continue on the closing out the POs right up to the end of the fiscal year.
yeah.
And then what would be good to know also, Matt, for the next meeting is what is your carryover POs? So I always want to know how much of next year's spending have I already
Already
paid
chewed
for
up.
with this year's funds? Because if it's not coming in till next year,
Right.
I'm gonna use it in next year's
Okay,
activity, not, obviously not this year's. Last year was 1,070 or 1,030 or 1,030,000 something.
oh no, that was encumbrance.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Oh,
there's
but
also
POs.
prepaids.
Yeah.
Because that comes off of the money that goes to, the taxpayers.
Yep.
So like if I prepay, say for example, he needs to pay for a piece of software and that vendor demands payment before July 1st, I'm gonna pay it.
Yep.
Because he needs it, okay? But that money's already been spent. I can't return it back to the taxpayers
Yep.
theoretically. So I have to make a reservation of that, okay? There's, in the past, I have prepaid, the rent for the SAU office. This year I'm not. I'm actually changing up my payment schedule. I've already spoken with the owner because the interest rates are so high. Normally I will pay just once because it costs between $7 and $14 to issue a check, okay? If I'm getting $10 worth of interest, I'm not gonna keep the money. I'm just gonna give it to them. It's not worth it. Okay, so now I figured the interest was gonna be almost $2,000. So I'm gonna try to spread it over the year and try to make the most out of that money.
Based on that full return, is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
Okay?
Yep.
So that's where I'm at. Okay? I'm trying to give you the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I have 600,000.
keep squeezing, I like 7 digits.
yeah. Yeah,
All right?
So, and if we wanted a summary of that number, that is
This number right here?
in the box.
Yeah.
The amount to be returned, like, that is derived by taking all your estimated expenditures for the rest of the year.
Yes.
What's gonna be left over minus
Can we,
Special ordinance.
contingency, special,
yeah, these
The
are,
estimates.
the estimates and.
I changed that slightly. Matt, when he puts this number together, he's using some gut feel things, but he doesn't go through and say, let me lay out the next 2 months of POs. Right. He says, this is what I have. These are the POs that have already been encumbered through May. I know from my experience that I see dwindling POs into June. I'm not expecting that much. But he's got one line there of these extra POs, 8, 9, 10, those are
Mhm.
requisitions that are in. Notice there's no line that says my expectation of June POs, so you could still have a hit for June POs.
I don't know what they are.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a moving target.
Yes, correct.
It's still a moving target. Now,
It'll be a moving target up to June 29th.
right.
yeah,
Well, June 30th.
yeah, exactly. So,
But this is gonna be a fairly good estimate. Because some of these won't come in, some will come in higher. He'll have some other expenditures come in.
Yeah.
He'll have some POs that are closed out that he already had out there that were part of the encumbered. So this isn't a bad estimate. I would agree with Matt, we're probably gonna go higher rather than lower.
yes, agreed. Yes, but I'm still gonna say 5 to 600,000.
Sure.
Okay,
Estimates.
but you have to understand too, the way that the system works.
Mhm.
I can't do this estimate from July to December.
Mhm.
I need the tax rate set.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
and really start January 1st. That's when I start developing this.
Sure.
And then in January, it's like, it's a wild number.
Sure.
And then as we get to the year end, it becomes more and more refined.
I try to bank it in January.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. So my only piece of unclarity here is that we've got 100,000 sitting there for the roof that we know is coming off. So why do we think that's going higher? When we know we've got 100,000 sitting there that's not
I'm gonna
gonna.
take it off.
You're right, but so why are we?
Why? I'm giving worst case
Go ahead.
scenario.
Okay, all right, that's good. That's good.
Because to me, if that roof opens up tomorrow,
Sure.
I'm doing a section. I'm not doing the whole thing.
Yeah. We talked
That's
about
why I
that.
figure it's in there
Yeah.
for us.
Okay.
Let's say we find that it is starting to rot, sheet rock and everything else.
Got it.
We have to put something in, then we're have to do emergency.
We're being conservative. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's why I said it's gonna be going up.
Sure. Okay.
yeah.
The last number of years, we've been at 1 million. We have more people.
Mhm.
Well, we had 2 years of 2 million during COVID. But we have more people now because we were able to fill spots they weren't able to fill before.
Right.
So I don't anticipate getting to 1 million, but I anticipate there will be higher than this.
Great.
And just to kind of, that $2 million a year,
Mhm.
at this time during that year, I was getting, communications from both towns and Fremont School District. They may not have the cash to pay their, assessment payments,
Mhm.
okay? I looked at the bank statement and I said, I have enough cash to make payroll for the rest of the year. I was telling administrators, whatever you have for open POs, you don't have anymore.
Mhm.
Okay, because we're trying to make payroll.
Yeah.
I was trying to make this district float through the year.
Yeah.
And then for whatever miracle, we got the money
Mhm.
for those last 2 months and then gave it back to the taxpayers.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So there's my year end.
So we're at 6. I don't know what your time, if you guys have time to go through the manifest questions or do you need to,
Yeah, I'd like to, I'd like to
Now,
close
is
it
there
out.
anything I need to
Okay.
do for finance?
Do you want to sit through the manifest questions? Because some of them are yours.
Sure, I mean, I'm
Oops.
hearing it,
I'm saying.
is what it is. I just know there's things like, special ed is definitely a moving target. You'll see transportation costs are, one kid out's $54,000 for transport.
Yeah.
Could be as much as $54,000. Those are real numbers.
And that's because of the equipment that's needed, the staff that's needed, like
And
what.
300 and something dollars per day for 180 days. So that's a load, and some are over $400 because of what they're paying their people and the rules, a lot of them are trying to keep vehicles that are 5 or 6 years old max, so
Right.
they're buying new vehicles.
Right.
I sit on the SLC board.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I do. And their stuff's getting older, so when they have to buy new stuff, all of a sudden you're paying. And placements are not cheap. I estimate every time someone says we're thinking about placing a kid, it's probably $100,000 on, and then transportation. So it's a big swing. So we are looking at ways to absorb some things, options that we can do. That, once we get them figured out, we'll probably come to you guys and say, look, this is what we're thinking. We put kids out. It's definitely going to impact budgets in the future. That could be it's been a rough year. I will tell you the state itself, just something to be aware of, they've seen about a 20% rise in identified students.
In what now?
Identified students in
okay.
this state.
Got it.
That's this state's average. There are districts having to open multiple preschools. Towns are like, I had to open 2 more, just because of the number of kids. It is like the Wild West right now. It is just expensive. And we're using a lot of contracted services because we can't fill positions. They're not cheap. They're not cheap. So,
Okay, so the first question dealt with software. Why are we spending $4,745 for this piece of software? And really what it was is it wasn't really software. It was rather registration for several people to attend online training for the Wilson reading system and the Wilson language. Okay. It probably is coded in the wrong account. It should be in more of like a professional development or training account. Okay.
My big concern here was the use of credit cards.
Okay.
So a software purchase to me is not a credit card eligible purchase. That should be planned out, identified separately.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a pretty big narrative in there because I kind of assumed that Jamie had an issue with the credit cards. The credit card company that we have gives us money back for all the purchases. And it's actually being tracked by a pool of other schools. Okay. We rank 14th out of 60 schools in the state that use this credit card company for this program. Okay. This year we got back $2,344 or $46 of money that we used to buy products. Okay. So, yes, it's difficult, but we get money back.
and this wasn't actually software.
Yeah.
The problem that we're running into is a lot of what we purchase has an online component to it. So it's access to something online that came with this program, which has, like Wilson's a box program, but it has an online component. And they itemize those online pieces, and a lot of the training is now being done online.
Hmm.
So it's just been a funky sort of where does it fit against the lines that we have? And that's been a problem. So we're working on trying to make that align better moving forward as the shift is been done that way.
And the Wilson was on a separate credit card.
The Wilson what?
The Wilson purchase wasn't a separate PO, right? Because it's a curriculum piece.
Right, that's a training for the Wilson program that had to be purchased. There's
Right.
actually a 3-day formal training that has to be used with it. So we did, the program got purchased, it had an online component, and then the training was done online.
But all the money's going to the same company, right? They're not
Yes.
three different companies.
Yes,
So we should try, to your point, we should try to accumulate those so that we know what the full cost of that package is.
So I wanted to make sure that everyone was comfortable that we track those credit card purchases diligently on a monthly basis. My AP payroll clerk, drives everyone crazy and I love it.
Hey, to Jamie's point, there is a question, I think, around, should there be any sort of governance on what kinds of purchases that's appropriate to, or not? Like, is it just, hey, we're gonna use it everywhere we can so we can get cash back?
Yeah.
What we
Or,
found in business,
You know, like, that's the thing.
what we found in business is the greater distribution of credit cards, the more rampant discretionary spending that was harder to justify. Because it was just easier for people to get it on a card.
And I'm not really seeing that here.
I'm gonna speak to it, because when I got here, which is a year and a half ago, Matt sat down with me, one of the first things he did was just to go over my credit card and what I could use it for. And he goes, what about you will ask me, and I have. We've only been using it if there is a time component to getting the training, and that was this case. The trainings are filling up. We don't have time to go through it this way. We needed to get it. And in some cases, the person needed the materials in hand for the training. So when we run up against it, but those I have to go through him and ask first, this is the situation. Do you have another mechanism, or should I do this?
But
He will tell me if I can.
So, but how many credit cards do we have in the district? How many?
I have a list.
Yeah, it's got the list there.
Yeah, I have a list down below.
Okay. That would be my concern.
Okay.
I'm not concerned about you having a card. You need one in order to make things happen.
Yeah.
But everybody doesn't need one to make things
And I will
happen.
say the principal, he was very adamant about how to explain what my use was.
Yeah.
I can tell you that
Yeah.
there's that sort of pecking order oversight.
I have a tangent, okay? You remember the ACH, our discussion about getting that authorization?
Yep.
Okay, the training worked. This past month, we had, someone.
An attempt at unauthorized.
Yes,
I saw that.
okay,
So
It
what-
worked.
What we're talking about is when you go to, automatic payments through credit card, or not through credit card, through paying vendors, so you don't have to issue checks and spend for checks.
Yeah.
Some people try to hack that by changing the account number associated with a vendor to their account. So the vendor never gets paid. You still owe the vendor, but the money's gone because it got transferred to somebody else's account fraudulently. We caught that
yes,
based upon the training that Matt put in place when we first put this in to make sure that nobody's banks get changed without contacting the vendor at the vendor's registered contact numbers to verify that they're changing the banks.
yes. I tell my staff, people move more often than they change banks.
Sure.
Okay, so when you get a bank change request,
Don't believe it.
don't believe it.
Verify.
Go verify.
There's not even a trust. There's not even a trust but verify. Don't trust and verify.
Okay.
True.
So the next one is, it's a conference called NELMA, and the conference name is called Surviving to Thriving. NELMA is the New England League of Middle Schools, and the annual conference, I didn't put in the link for the conference, but the conference agenda items are in your drive. They should be in your drive. There it is. Let me link it right now.
That's okay. It's $1,200. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that. I don't usually see travel expenses grant funded. It can happen. Hadn't seen one in a while. I just wanted to point it out.
Okay, but it's like 50 pages of documentation, or more, about that particular conference, okay? The next item here is training for Dan on water operations. Is this what you discussed in the facilities meeting about Dan being trained? Yes, it is. Would we still be maintaining our independent third-party water testing on a regular cycle? Yes, we will be. And really his water operator's license is a 1A. It's the entry level. He needs to have someone over him. There's no way we could do this in-house. Plus, I would tell him that you don't want to operate by yourself. You need to have someone else, okay? But on a school district standpoint, I needed someone because we have emerging water issues that is trained in water systems like the ones we have, so we can have more of an educated discussion about them, okay? And plus the class was $50, and really the cost here was his travel. Okay.
Very good. I just wanted to verify when I saw that, because we just talked about it, that his training does not displace third-party objective testing. I didn't figure it did, but I wanted to make sure.
No, yeah, we are keeping our companies in place.
Okay.
Okay. But having him here, it's going to catch some of the mistakes that we've been making, like putting in too much salt in the old middle school. Okay. The next item is Medicaid. Basically, we have a vendor who bills Medicaid. Troy's office works directly for them. What they do is they give us the gross receipts. From that, we have to pay them out of an appropriation, actually, for their service, which is 8% of collections. The next one is
I like to see those expenses. You can jack those way up. But I'll take the 92% given.
yeah.
Oh, trust me, we're getting our dollars for them now. We're using the things that are not normally their software for. They're like, but we could use it for that. We're going to use it because it replaced something else we were going to have to purchase, and we already have access to it.
Okay. The next item is what did we buy from the school store? We bought a gift for the Bletzers. So the Bletzer family gives the school district $5,000 a year, okay, to go towards our students, our neediest students, okay? This is just a blanket.
This is a well-deserved payment.
Yes. Okay,
And that's a local family, I'm assuming?
it is.
Yeah.
It's the accounting firm. If you're standing in front of the town library in Kingston, that's the accounting firm to the right. Okay. What is music therapy? It's so great that you're here, Troy.
I know. So, music therapy is a type of therapy where you use rhythm and song to get kids to connect. It's for social anxiety, those types of pieces. My predecessor had brought it in. I've used it in other districts where I was at too. It's used for our cognitive program and our heavy behavioral program kids, only at the elementary level. And it's to get them to engage. It's to get them to come out of their shells, to help them follow patterns and connect. 34 weeks is how long the contract was set up for, but they weren't going to do it every week. So Kim Murphy puts in the dates that was actually done when she gets invoiced. Sometimes she'll get invoiced for 3 or 4 at a time. Sometimes it's 1 at a time. I don't know how people function that way, but that's how they get our invoices. You're also going to see it in our summer program, because it's been something that's been a staple part of the summer program, the special ed summer programming for the last few years.
Okay.
The next one is Rodarius Management Services. It's that we call them citywide. There are contracted custodial service.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and we're ending that service, but they've been awesome, and it's also a local family.
I thought it was particular service on some piece of equipment or something. I wasn't sure
Yeah,
what it was.
that's great, because I never heard of it referred to that way. So the next one was really a quantity question, because if you look at the report, it just says 10 basketballs for $850, okay?
Mhm.
When you look in the system, it's 10 dozen basketballs,
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And then
Well, it's got by DZ there.
5 dozen
Mhm.
softballs, okay? And so, yeah, I verified that the quantity is by the dozen.
Was that what that is?
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It originally didn't.
No, but
I
it's
still
in
think
the
the softballs
system.
are too expensive.
I wish it would print it out.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
60 softballs for 400, that seems like that's.
So this question here deals with a heat exchanger in which unit bill. So this is the rooftop unit at Memorial. This is the one that's over the cafeteria. And what happened was there was a crack in the heat exchanger and the system locked it out. Okay. And so we had to go and replace it. Now I want to make a distinction. That unit over the building is a carrier unit and it's a commercial unit versus what's in the classroom, which is a Mitsubishi unit, which I think is more like a residential unit.
Those are. All the mini splits on the side?
Yes.
Those are residential.
Yes. Question about P cards, $12 for each scented bookmark. It was for Reading Across America Week, and they got them for every student pre-K, including pre-K, and there were over 500 bookmarks, and they were about 15 cents each. So there were scratches.
I think that's, we're doing better on these than we are on these softballs.
Well, again, I see 6 and we're paying $12 a bookmark.
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
Good sense.
Again, I'll buy a deck of cards. Who got the ace of spades? And you use a deck of cards for your bookmarks.
Spending,
I mean, these are all great questions.
Yeah.
All right, Penguin Plunge. This is a student fundraiser that went through the student activity accounts. When they paid for it, they used a district credit card. I have to use a receivable account in the general fund. And so the accounts that are listed there is a receivable. It's not an expenditure account. It doesn't hit the general fund appropriation.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. You asked for a list of the P cards. I gave you who's the carrier of the card and what their balance is. Mine is the biggest one because it's attached to our Amazon account, okay? And I don't carry it. So if someone's coming to go look for me, I don't have it. I have to go and ask for
You're
permission.
saying that on camera.
I thought we had a lot more than that.
Just so everybody knows.
Somebody's looking.
Yeah, I thought we had a lot more than that. That's a reasonable list to me.
I expected, as soon as I saw this, I started the list, I was expecting it to go on.
Well, that's what I was concerned with. That's what I wanted to
You're at the
verify.
12 people. That's-
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
And those seem appropriate,
Yeah,
the
it does to me.
appropriate positions, people, yeah.
I don't see my name, which is a problem, but you know.
This next one,
Thanks, dear.
I can't go into much detail about it because it kind of, this is for an FM listening device, and it's for a student who has hearing implants.
Okay.
So it attaches to their implants. They can hear better in the classroom. That's fine. Okay.
So just to put it in with you is, schools are not responsible for the device that attaches to the child.
Yep.
That's their Medicaid or medical insurance. But the device that goes to that, the FM system, or even the batteries for hearing aids, we do need to keep those on hand.
Sure.
It's part of what we have to do.
Yep.
This particular system, we need a new one here. And then we will do it for fitting.
And that makes sense.
Okay. And then again, there was another question about music therapy. And that's it.
All right. And I have 20-something people coming over shortly. Unless you guys have something else, I'm going to adjourn. Anybody?
Yeah. Thanks for staying late to get this done.
Absolutely. And thank you,
Yeah,
thank you, Dr. Dan, for being here. We
Anytime you guys
appreciate
need
it
me, anytime.
very much. Matt,
Moving
thank
forward, things will be a little cleaner and whatnot. So.
No, I think we're
Appreciate
fairly
it.
clean now.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
the